Anyway, how y'all doing, family? Welcome to another edition. One more time again. Moorish World TV. And I'm your host. I'm from Rahmael Bey. Hold on. Let me try that one. I like that one. I'm your host, Rahmael Bey. How y'all doing, family? What's going on? So we got a nice topic on the plate today. I mean, oh man, this is a nice topic because this is something that needs to be addressed. It's a serious topic. And a lot of people want us to get away from it, but guess what? We're not gonna run away from it. So y'all work for me y'all work with me as I walk into this. Because I want to walk y'all through this. If y'all not a part of the Moorish Temple of America, then you're going to have to be patient with me because I might go in. I might raise my voice sometime. I might do a lot of things and jump around, but I want to get to one main point. And the main point, I don't think you're going to miss it. But let me say this first and foremost, as a custom of the Moorish Temple of America, as well as with our ancestors from the inhabitants of Africa, we always, before we address one another, before we address the group, we always give praise to our Creator. So first and foremost, I rise and give praise to Allah. We give praise to our Creator because we want to know that we're coming in the name of God. We are coming in the name of God. And also, as a custom in Grand Temple 13, here in Baltimore, Maryland, on Maryland Avenue, we like to say, if I say something wrong, let that be on me. If I say something that don't jive right, let that be on me. Don't you dare let that fall on the Prophet Noble Drew Ali or Allah. Because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is holy and divine, and he is a prophet of Allah, and Allah is perfect. So if I say something that don't jive right with you, if I offend you, let me apologize in advance because that's not meant to be. I'm not meant to be malicious. I'm not trying to be malicious. The truth may offend, but I'm not a malicious person. That ain't my thing, you know. So if I do that, if I come off like that, if I jump out the window and do something, let that be on me. That's Rahmael Bey. He didn't jump out the window. But the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said we must learn to love instead of hate. You understand? So if I come off as hateful, let that be on me. That ain't on the Prophet now. So I ain't gonna let y'all do that. You understand what I'm saying? Hey, Craig Moorish Bey, I got you. I've got you. I'm taking orders next week for t-shirts. The website is going up. We're going to get this thing right. So listen, let me bring it down. I know they're going to say, man, why yell so much? Why yell? I get excited, man. I'm excited. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali is quoted as saying that I want you something that you can shout about. And I ain't stopped shouting yet. So, hey, it is what it is. And so with that, we also like to give honor. As a custom to the Moorish Temple of America, we like to give honor to man, woman, and man. When we say man is interchangeable with woman. Why? Because the great God of the universe does nothing without going through his strength made manifest, his man, his vicegerent. So we give honor to man because when we honor man, we honor God. So I honor y'all for finding something to do with yourself. Like coming here on Moorish World TV and get a dose of Moorish science. Because as my good brother Azim Hopkins Bey, honor to my brother Azim Hopkins Bey, Prophet Noble Drew Ali came with the antidote to this poison. With that, I'd like to bring my good brother, my sidekick, and we supposed to be doing a show soon, my sidekick, the Sheikh Cyrus Zill. Islam, brother, how you doing?
Islam, brother Rahmael Bey. Good to hear you, brother Sheikh. First start by rise and give praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, and I give high honors to the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Temple of America. I give honors to all of the prophets, and I give honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Praise Allah, praise Allah. I'm going to give honors to, you know, because, you know, this is a dicey show. I'm going to give honors as well in advance, you know, because Moors, as we know already, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was not a racist, and he didn't, you know, deem us to be racist. So I want to extend special honors again. I extend honors to all European abolitionists, for example, you know, giving honors. I gave honors before to brothers Thaddeus Stevens and to Judge Hugh Bond. I want to give a special honors tonight. There's a brother, you know, I know the Moors are familiar with William Cooper. William Cooper, the author of he was a naval intelligence officer. He was killed spreading the truth, and he did some things that really helped Asiatics to understand what we were up against here in the U.S. William Cooper is the author of Behold a Pale Horse. So, and I give honors to you, brother Tahaka Bey. Give honors to Moorish World TV. Give honors to all the listeners. Glad to be on here tonight. Islam,
family. So listen, this is a timely little subject. This is a very timely little subject, and we're gonna get right into it. So, my sister, let me give a shout out to my sister Maureen. Let me get her name right, because this is my sister here, brother. My sister, man, she is my ride or die sister, Marina Asim L. This sister, I'm telling you, she rocks out with a brother. When this sister sees something out of order, oh my goodness, my sister come with the hammer, and she gonna bang that hammer, man. Man, this Moorish sister here, she's something else. I give honor to my sister because when my sister sees something, she always inbox me, and if it get too bad, she pick up the phone and call me. I done seen times we was on the phone for a whole hour, just breaking it down, you know. So shout out to my sister, straight from Baltimore, Maryland. But nevertheless, my sister enlightened me last week, I think it was last week, about something that I wasn't even familiar with. I'm not familiar with a lot of this stuff that's been going on because I'm one of them brothers that just want to do the work. And so now that I have created this platform called Moorish World TV, now it seems like I've become the vanguard of the movement or something. I don't know. Somebody, I'm not self-appointed. The people then appointed me because they just keep sending me stuff. And when they send it to me, I examine it, and then I say, man, this is a worthy topic that needs to be addressed. Now, I don't know whether it was addressed before in the past, and maybe it wasn't addressed in the proper form. Who knows? But I didn't hear about it. So obviously it didn't have that much exposure. So to say, oh, I was under a rock, or I was too busy doing some work, you know, whatever the case may be. But whatever the case may be, here we go. We have what we would consider a problem. Houston, we have a problem. And the problem is that we have come upon a situation within the Moorish Science Temple of America, where it seems as though, and let me pause, not in the Moorish Science Temple of America. We have come across something that we will say in the Moorish National Divine Movement. That's what people want to call it. And I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, the Moorish National Divine Movement. Well, what has happened is that it seems to be that anybody that dons affairs can say and do whatever they want. But because they put on affairs, they become a connection to the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Holy and Divine Prophet Noble Drew Ali. What you looking at? What you're looking at right here is a European. Now, like I said, Moors are not racist. Not at all. Not at all. But we are very conscious.
That's right.
Aware of the situation that put us in the predicament that we find ourselves.
That's right.
We also are aware that we were sent a holy and divine prophet specifically tailor-made by the great God of the universe to bring us, specifically us, out of the condition in which we find ourselves. Yes, it's a universal lesson that anybody can use to pull themselves out of the mud of life, if you want to call it that. However, it was specifically tailor-made for the Asiatics who had lost their national identity, their ancient culture, their knowledge of being the founders of civilization, and therefore God said, hold up, enough is enough. Let's send them intervention. And that intervention came in the form of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. In the same vein that Jesus came to the Israelites. In the same vein that Prophet Muhammad came to Saudi Arabia. In the same vein, and I say Saudi Arabia, we know that's a modern term, but you get my point. In the same vein that Moses, that Abraham, that anybody that believed in the prophets came, in the same vein, that's how we subscribe to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And he came specifically to address the problems that we had. So now you see a picture of a European right here with a fez on. I can't stop a European from wearing fez. Heck, they've been wearing them for years. They done put letters on them and everything. They done put swords, pyramid, oaks, all type of stuff on them. So that is not the point. The point is we have a problem. And give me a second, my good brother, Cyril. We have a problem. The problem is this. It's not so much that the European is donning a fez. It's not so much that the European is saying that he support Moorish science. It's what the European is teaching. That's the problem.
Islam.
That's the problem. It's not that he's a European. It's for one, he is teaching something that is not Moorish science. I want y'all to work with me and listen to this. New Black Knowledge, thank you for your support, my brother. MBK in the building. Just gave a $5 support to the channel. I want y'all to listen to this, family. Be patient because we're going to walk through this real quick. Here we go.
Peace and love. This is Latif Bey. This is my video putting it on the record that I fully support Master Teacher Tariq Bey, GS Kudjo Adwell. Ask all the brothers and sisters to come forward because the Moors that are just starting to awaken are being sidetracked by dirty Moors, whatever you want to call them, Moors, whatever you want to call them, dirty Moors, whatever you want to call them, dirty Moors, whatever you want to call them.
Now stop right there for a second. Here we go. Here we go. This guy has the ability to make a video and said that he support Taj and Kudjo, and right behind that called their brothers dirty Moors. I'm gonna let my brother Cyrus Hill chime in before we go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother Tahaka Bey. And I was hoping the brother was going to be on tonight, actually, because I'd like to ask. I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask him. If assuming that he's probably not, I would probably start off by qualifying the brother because this is a very intricate topic. There's a lot of different things to address. He doesn't appear to me as being very. For one, he stepped into the wrong teachings and say that based on what he just said in the video which I saw earlier today. So he's actually espousing, and then we have Moors, Asiatics that are making that same mistake as well. That's an issue in itself, like you said, and it's very smart for you to address that. That part aside, though, I'm listening to him. And there's different degrees of offense that could happen in a situation like this. And I'm gonna talk about some of this later. But what I'd like to do just to get a better feel for the brother, because he doesn't, in what he said, outside of it being incorrect to the Prophet's teaching, it's not extremely offensive. You know what I mean? It's not extremely offensive. But I'd like to ask him. I found out who his teachers are from looking at the video. He's very clear on who he's studying under. That would have been my first question. That's what I always ask more. So who are your teachers? What temple are you at? What leadership are you under? I would also like to ask him what his past efforts were, because it's one thing to want to be involved in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And when we figure out why, that's that we deal with that. But first and foremost, what have you done in the past, to help Asiatics, that you have this zeal or this motivation to be involved with our divine and national movements that's specifically set aside for Asiatics that have went through this institution here in the United States of America who are of Moorish descent, you know, and that might help me to better understand them. You know what I mean? Without knocking a brother first and foremost, I want to first understand, and, you know, depending on how he answers that is how I would, you know, continue my first vetting of what his thoughts are and where his thoughts may be a little bit off and what he may not understand about how it could be construed. You know, and then I would also probably be asking what his intentions are in the future. What are your intentions, you know, with the Moorish Science Temple of America being a member? Do you want to be, you don't want to be a member? Are you looking to be a leader? Or, you know, what is his thoughts? And to hear his natural reaction.
I'm about to give you his thoughts. If you would allow me, my brother.
Islam.
We don't have him here, but we can almost gather that this is his thoughts.
I'm not allowed to be in the temple. The only argument.
I'm gonna go back for 1 second.
I'm your fellow man. Another thing I wanted to touch on was, you know, the prophet says, I'm going to make the European enforce my law. That don't mean that they're just enforcing that law. He said, I'm going to make them. So if he's going to make me enforce his law, for me to enforce that law, am I not authorized to enforce that law? Am I not allowed to be in the temple?
Stop right there. So, brother, do you hear what he's saying?
Yeah.
He's saying that he has come to enforce the law in the vein in which the prophet said he was going to force the European to enforce the law.
Yeah, yeah. I was aware. I heard someone, you know, mention that. I think you might have mentioned it to me as well, that he made that statement. That is definitely way out of context, for one. There are, for those that have the oral statements and familiar with the prophet statements, they're chock full of, he pinpointed one particular verse and was able to twist the context of that verse. But when you read all of the other oral statements that the prophet made, the prophet is very clear on his stance. I'm going to utilize a little bit of diplomacy on the prophet's behalf, because our prophet was a very wise man, and because of this a public forum, I'm not going to even quote some of the things that we're familiar with about 3,000 miles and taking on water, or I'm not going to break down Quran questions 92 to 95, or the multitude of other statements that the prophet says that will easily clear that out, because I think it might be too strong. It might be a little overkill. But clearly, my opinion is that that brother took that out of context, and it's a little naive on his half. I'm trying to pull punches, if you will.
Okay, absolutely. But I'm not going to pull none. I'm not going to pull because this is the problem. The reason why the Moors was expelled out of Spain was right here, this sort of behavior right here. It's two sorts of behaviors.
Yeah.
Now listen, family. Listen.
Actual
There's two
fact.
sorts of behavior that got the Moors expelled out of Spain and their power diminished.
Good point.
This is how the Moorish power diminished. This is why so-called brothers or sisters in the quote-unquote black power community, they say that the Moors put Africans in slavery, which that is foolish, because they are the same. African and Moors are the same people. It's interchangeable to a degree. But now, this is the two things that got Moors expelled. For one thing, first of all, the Moors went into Spain and all of Europe to civilize them because they was disease-ridden, they were sleeping with animals, they were filthy, and they were having plagues over and over and over again, killing millions and millions and millions of Europeans in periods of time. In the wisdom of the Moors said, hold up, if we allow this to continue, this is going to overflow into the area what we now call Africa. So if we don't civilize them, this thing could get out and would overflow into what is known today as Africa. So the Moors went on a noble mission to civilize the Europeans so this would not happen.
Right.
They did a wonderful job. But just like the Moors of today, we need to look at what we're doing. Because the Moors of yesterday forgot to look what they were doing. So the Prophet Noble Ali teaches us that all people have suffered slavery by not honoring the principles laid down by their foreparents, foremothers, and forefathers, meaning that we dropped the ball. And when we drop the ball, here's the behavior. For one thing, we started marrying European women. Yes, Moors begin to sell European women into slavery, mostly European women. That's why when you Google it, you'll see paintings, oil paintings with European women butt naked next to old Moors. You follow me? And Moors would sell the European women to other Moors throughout the diaspora of the Moorish Empire. It is what it is. I don't run from the truth. Now, secondly, what the Moors begin to do, they begin to share too much information, and that information in turn was taken to Queen Isabella and Ferdinand. They begin to plot, scheme, and say it's time for us to rise up. And so they did a Trojan horse degree. They played friends with the Moors, cool with the Moors, and before you knew it, the Moors was either accepting Christianity and was called Moriscos, or they was getting up out of there. And so here we go in 2017. Kudjo, that's right, I called names. Kudjo actually defends this European. You remember I did the show about the brothers in Khalifa territory. They nationalized a European. You understand? And we got multiple brothers marrying Europeans. Stop, hold up, wait a minute. I'm going to call a spade a spade. But this is how we fell, and this is how we will not rise again.
While we're talking, can I add something in, Brother Tahaka Bey? I don't know if I cut you. I don't want to cut you off. You're flowing.
Come on. Come on.
To your point, since we're actually at this point talking about the statements of the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, I would advise those. These are some that I selected. And I'm not gonna read all of them. If you have it, I would say advise the brother to look at in contrast to the statement that he read. Look at statement number. He read 185. Read statement number 83 and statement number 112. I'm not going to read them aloud on the air, but what I will read and will air that thought right out, basically, or two. And the first one is lesser, and the second one I'm going to read clearly contradicts with the thought that the brother has. I'm going to read statement number 113 from the oral statements. Sister A. Brown L. and Brother C. Barker Bey, past Grandma GM, said that the Holy Prophet told the Moors, quote, "Don't let none of those foreign Muslims get up into your rostrum." And it says in parentheses, "We are not to allow foreign Muslims to teach or speak to an audience in our temples." And these are Muslims. These are Asiatics of the Asiatic nations. It's spelled out in chapter 45. It says we have to be very careful. And where we're going to go into this conversation, because there's a lot of things we need to address, is self-preservation. You said that a couple of days ago, Brother Tahaka Bey. I don't think people that didn't go through what Asiatics went through here between the 1600s and the 1865, they don't fully understand the self-preservation that we're facing. But before I go there, let me read the other statement. This one clearly addresses what the brother said. This is statement number 237. The Holy Prophet told the Moors, "If you want European grand sheiks, I can give them to you," end quote. And in parentheses, it reads, "Some people are so under the influence of slavery, though they are free, that they do not wish to honor and follow their own leaders. So the Holy Prophet gave them a choice. Now, and I believe that is a loaded question where the prophet is saying, look, I didn't want to set it up that way. And I didn't. And it's not set up that way. But if you are that badly brainwashed, then we can do that. You know what I mean? And if you read the context of it, it clearly states that he did not want that for the Moors. He did not want to have Europeans within of the ranks, and definitely not as leadership. And that last statement is kind of harsh, but it's true. And again, I'll explain a little bit further later on. I know you got something you're gonna say, Brother Talker Bey.
You good? I was going to say, when I see that statement right there, brother, when I look at the prophet Obadiah Ali, when I look at the prophet Jesus, and I look at all the prophets, I look at it as if they talking right directly to me. And when I see Prophet Obadiah Ali say directly to me, if y'all want European sheiks, I will give them to you. I see Prophet Obadiah Ali being a little sarcastic, being a little bit sarcastic, being a little bit facetious,
exactly,
showing you that if you so caught up on the European to be your God, let me throw a little sarcasm in there to show you how foolish it sounds.
Absolutely.
And we do it today. And so for a person to take that and try to run with it and make it seem like the prophet was standing on something like we see in that picture would be foolish, insane, and just super crazy. Super crazy. Absolutely. But one of my issue is, Brother Cyrus L, is that when we open up the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this is what we call our holy book. Stand by, family. Go ahead, Brother Cyrus. I'm gonna bring it up real quick, my brother.
Islam. And like, again, I wanted to, you know, I'm trying to preface a very difficult conversation, a very tough conversation. You know, the prophet was striving to preserve the American Asiatics. And you know, and in doing that, we had to be blunt, you know, but we live by the 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You know, the European is also seeking to preserve himself and his quote unquote race. And for those that are familiar with what's the sister's name that wrote Hidden Colors, boy, her name escaped me that quick. We're familiar that the European, it'll come back to me in a second, is also concerned with the, you know, with being overrun with the population. You know, his population being overrun by Asiatics through genetic, I don't even want to say genetic dominance, inferiority, superiority. So he has to survive. They have to survive. Francis Quest Welsing, the ISIS papers, pardon me. You know, for those that are familiar with the ISIS paper, that theory. But in the Asiatics preservation now, and the Europeans preservation overall, the European is a little bit more offensive. So the type of racism that the European uses is a very aggressive one. The prophet, upholding to the 5 principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, is very frank and very direct and very truthful about what it is, about the legacy that the European has against Asiatics. But he still does it in a very divine way, a very, very high way. So when we address this, you know, when you look at the way the prophet addressed it, he took the high road. That's my point, brother Talker Bey.
Islam, brother. So I want to go to our holy and divine record. Our holy and divine, what the prophet Obadiah Ali calls this pamphlet here. I got them everywhere, but I don't know why I don't see one right now. But what he called this pamphlet here is, I got them everywhere. Hold one moment. I got to find one somewhere. Matter of fact, I must have took some and was studying too hard, because I usually keep one everywhere. But
while you're looking for that, let me throw these statements on there to what I just said. So the prophet said, he said in statement 232, he said the European is your fellow man. You know, and it speaks to, you know, that high road.
Brother, I'm glad you said that, because somebody in the chat said, why do Cyrus L keep calling him brother man?
Islam.
You know how we do, brother. When we start standing on something, we gonna get called on some things.
That's right.
Know who it was, but another brother said that. You know?
That's right and exact.
But nevertheless, so whoever said that, you see, my brother ain't got no problem with truth. He said that's
not
right.
at all. That's right and exact.
So here we go, family. Check this out. If you're not a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I really want you to really, really pay attention to what I'm about to show you. You know, if you are, then I'm preaching to the choir. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not, I want you to really pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Okay? So what I'm about to show you is what we believe in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Okay? So give me 1 second, and I'm going to pull up the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And one thing about me, I'm not going to interpret this. I'm going to say what it is and leave it at that. When you go to the chapter right here, 48, the end of time and fulfilling of the prophecies, verse 6, we. Who is the we that Prophet Noble Drew Ali talking about? If you go into the Moorish questionnaire and ask you, what is his nationality? Speaking for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he said Moorish American. What is your nationality? Moorish American. We is an indication that this man, this prophet, this savior, this healer, this redeemer is talking about himself and you. We, as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa. When the prophet is saying that we have birthed a new nation, what he mean by clean? We'll put the old things behind us and we're starting fresh. He knew some of us have been compromised to some degree. We're putting that behind us and we're starting fresh. All right? Brother say I can't read the key, bro. I didn't read these over 20 years. Stop playing. Anyway, I'm thinking as I'm reading, because I'm trying to get to a point. We, as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate, that's mix, in any form, or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nation of Europe. That does not make us racist. If that makes us racist, then surely these Chinese people would be equally as racist. Because to keep their phenotype, their eyes, the shape of their head, the color of their hair, guess what they had to do? They had to marry one another. Does that make them racist? Does that make them don't like Europeans and don't like us? Maybe some of them do, maybe some of them don't. But you get my point.
Exactly.
So the Prophet Drew Ali says, neither serve their gods, serve the gods of their religion. Why is that so important? Because that's what got us in the mess in the first place. Because the gods of their religion does not mean a holy Bible. It does not mean praise the Lord. It does not mean that. The gods of their religion could mean money, could mean materialism, which started this mess in the first place. It was all up because Europeans at one time, when the Moors ruled Europe, they didn't treat people greasy. But the Europeans wanted what the Moors had, the material wealth, the silk robes, the gold everywhere. That became a god to them. And they began to plot, scheme. Who that sound like today? They begin to plot, scheme to acquire these things. But first, they had to dominate the human being, which was the Moor. They had to take his place and make the Moor take their place. Who that sound like today? Snatching gold chains, robbing people for jackets and shoes, and selling dope for this madness. Anyway, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and the salvation of mankind on earth. But back to my point. We do not desire. Let me tell you something about the word desire. The prophet using the word desire because desire comes from the soul. which means it's a gravitational pull. So it's not saying that you say, it's not saying because the prophet can't speak for you at that moment, but he's trying to put in your mind not to desire these things that are not good for you. Maybe you don't understand why they're not good for you, but if you believe in a holy divine prophet, that is enough until you get to the understanding. A lot of things that I doubted in the prophet, I'm so strong in the prophet over Drew Ali's teaching because I doubted almost every single bit of it at one time. You understand what I'm saying, Simon? I doubted every single bit of it at one time. But when I doubted it, I researched it. I mean, I pulled the covers and layers back. And every time I doubted, I got smacked in my face and like, boy, get yourself together. And so I got to the point where as though I was like, you know what? The next time that I doubted, I'm just going to say, man, get that out of my mind and let me just go do some research to confirm it. I was convinced that we was visited by a prophet of God. So that desire, as Rick James say, fire and desire. You need to get to your point. Well, you need to get to the point to not even to desire these things. I know y'all look at them European women and y'all still call her hair good hair. And then if you see a mixed, what they would call a mixed child, oh, they got good hair. I know you do. But that's where it's all the way in the gut where you desire this madness. Go ahead, Brother
Islam. That's a very powerful. I'm glad that you read that verse onto this particular record. I would start by saying that, you know, in order for the Moors to actually reach the point of unity, there's a certain type of love that's needed, and it ain't carnal love. It's divine love. It's a love divine where you love your people so much that it pains you what happens to them, it happens to you. In warfare, when you conquer a group of people, you know, a lot of times it's in the Old Testament, it's in all classic warfare. You basically take the spoils of war, you know, taking women and children, you know, enslaving the children and taking the women where you can, you know, I believe there's something that happens when you, with amalgamation, what the prophet was warning us about in that statement where he says, we do not wish to amalgamate, not necessarily from, again, that harsh racial standpoint, but out of pride and love for your own. And let's not wash our legacy away by joining into somebody else's tree after we were, you know, after the conquest of the Moors, after a certain type of, let me say, diabolical domination of the Moors. You know, I'm one of the people, it hurts me, it pains me greatly. You know, and I can go into this, we should go into this on the other call when we're talking about music and media. When you see how the European powers, or the powers that be that control media, are matching Asiatic sisters with European men. They're actually matching all the Asiatic, plenty different Asiatic nations, women against European men, and you don't see the equal balance the other way. That's a type of conquest that hurts me because of that divine love. That hurts me to the core, and this is what the prophet was warning us of. So I plan on getting to the root. You know, I want to peel away the anger and the pain and the passion. I'm going to get to the root of why this is definitely no good, and we have to be on guard against any of these type of forms that may lead to amalgamation or lead to further conquest. But I wanted to put it on the record just so if somebody tries to accuse us or to accuse the prophet of being diabolical racist, we're not. The prophet said, if the Europeans open me, why not you? And in our warning, he said, stop flashing your cards at the Europeans. Why? Because it causes confusion. So we're not about confusion, and we're not about speaking necessarily radical or causing, you know, the prophet was very sophisticated in the way that he set us to get our feet. And I'm going to go into that later. I want to take some readings from the Moorish literature to expound that point. But absolutely, we do not wish to amalgamate. Any real Moor that has that feeling deep in his, that he wants to amalgamate with the European sister at this point in time where we're at, he's something wrong. You need to do a systems check.
Let me share this, brother, and then we can move to higher ground real quick. Talk about some other things as it relates to the European demonstration. But let me show y'all a picture. This is Mariah Carey, right? I'm going to tell you flat out where I'm at on my journey. If she walked up to me and tried to talk to me, she gets no rap. Not because I don't, not because I'm racist. She gets no rap. She gets no rap because where I'm at on my journey, I know what the prophet was trying to do as it relates to the preservation of who we are. So somebody said, well, her father is Asiatic. Her phenotype is too European for me. But that's me. That's my choice. That's not the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's not Cyrus Hill. That's my choice. I don't want nothing even close to a European as it relates to building a Moorish nation. Not my thing. I can't do that. I understand what the prophet truly means. The prophet truly means that the Moors are a distinct people. The Moors are a unique people. Let's preserve the uniqueness and return to our greatness. Period, point blank. Let me share this, brother, and then we're going to get into the European. Because the problem is this. First, I wanted to establish, Brother Cyrus Hill, first I wanted to establish that we are as unique as any other nation. If I, like I showed the picture of the Chinese, if they choose to preserve their phenotype, if Japanese choose to preserve their phenotype, the people of India choose to preserve their phenotype, the people all around the country, the European Greeks, the European Jews, if they choose to preserve their phenotype, why am I racist? Because I want to preserve mine. Why am I racist?
Exactly.
But they don't call the Jewish guy with the yarmulke on his head and the demonstrations hanging down, the locks hanging down.
Who goes hard on the Germans for what the Germans did to him. You know?
You know what I'm saying? But nobody says nothing about that. But because I want to preserve my phenotype as a Moorish American Muslim, descendant from ancient Canaan. That now I become the racist. No, you ain't telling me I'm a racist. Because guess what? I love my people, and it is what it is. And I'm going to preserve it.
Let me dial in a little bit more to the brother to the fellow the fellow that we're talking about tonight, right?
Let me play something real quick, my brother.
Go ahead, yes, sir.
Let me play something that you can touch on real quick.
You got it.
Here we go. I'm gonna just play some excerpt from his video. Because this is what my brother Kudjo supports. Defense for this guy against other brothers. And he called those brothers dirty Moors because they spoke out against this guy. Check it out.
The only argument or defense that I hear from Moors are, well, Prophet said that we do not wish to amalgamate with the failed nations of the world. Well, what does that have to do with enforcing his law? If he's going to make me enforce his law, I have to study his law. I have to be a part of his law. I have to live his law. And part of living that law is what he said is be in attendance at the temple more, or be in attendance at the temple. So I don't know why Moors be like that, but. Moors already went over the prophecies and all that. So let's go ahead and jump into some more. Let's get into the civics.
Okay, stop right there. And we'll get into that in a second briefly, where he begins to teach the civics in the vein of Kudjo, in the vein of Canaan Land Moors, and in the vein of RV Bey Productions. And that's where we have to draw the line, where we have allowed a European to come in and masquerade as a Moorish American and teaching something that's not even Moorish science, number one. Number two, he's not a Moorish American. And number three, you ain't enforcing nothing. Come on, Cyrus Hill, my brother.
Islam. So I'm gonna give a breakdown on why it's not a good look for us to have Europeans as members or teachers or leaders. You know, the prophet, if you read the literature that he gave us correctly, you'll see that he's not making excuses. He's not blaming anyone else, and he's definitely not depending on anyone for our salvation. He taught us self-reliance, and I'm going to illustrate that with a couple of excerpts from the Moorish literature. This is from the editorial, A Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations, which is found on page 5. And going a little bit in from the beginning of that, it says, those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that allude to slavery. Now, with this particular text, you can see the way that it's written. The prophet is actually turning the responsibility. There's a word, accountability. Who's accountable? Who's responsible? You got to be responsible for yourself. When you turn around and you try to place the blame on another person and say, even if they did it, which it was, you know, it was done to us. The prophet says, get yourself up. Don't reach your hand out a bag or expecting somebody to get you up. There's another excerpt on the next page, same article, bottom of page 6, and it has that same spirit. It says, I love my people and I desire their unity and mind back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. And then again, in that particular case, you see how the prophet is self-reliant. He's teaching us self-reliance and not blaming anyone else. So why in the world would he turn around and then, you know, have us depend on another group of people that are outside of our own nation, that he described in our nation? It's unwise, and it opens the door for infiltration and for corruption. You know, that's my point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I want to say, family, is this. Let me stop that real quick. What I want to say, family, is this. This is the problem. This is the problem. The problem is we have a European that's teaching a false ideology. The European is teaching something that will get people killed. We know our sister in Baltimore got killed from demonstrating this madness. Let's stop faking the funk like we don't think that the sister didn't get killed from asking this European for a delegation of authority. Right. We know where the origin of that comes from. Let's stop faking. You know what I mean? Let's stop playing. I'm going to tell you something. I hope y'all here tomorrow night. It's a grand finale. And this show tomorrow night, I'm telling you, this show is going to rip your heart apart, because I have that I don't want to release yet, but it's something where somebody took this so literal and it's disrupted their life to the point, and this happened recently, it disrupted their life horribly. And we have the person coming on the show tomorrow. I don't want to leak it because I know if I leak it, somebody is going to try to block it. So I'm not going to leak it. But it's so serious that I even got the attorney, Akeisha Shabazz, will be on the show tomorrow.
Islam.
Give advice on how to come out of this mess. It's like a hypnotist. It's like a hypnotist. That somebody has hypnotized our people. I had a brother today. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull him up in a second. I have a brother today that was on the post when I posted the ad for this, and he defended this nonsense. He defended this nonsense to the letter. I'm not going to give him no shout out. I said I was, but I'm not going to give him no shout out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to give him no shout out. But I'm telling you, this was bad. So my brother Williams says, so basically based off of rhetoric, whatever the case may be, brother, this is not rhetoric. I'm going to show, I mean, I don't know if you call it what I'm saying is rhetoric, but I'm going to show how people have gotten injured from dealing with this. Let me screen share this real quick. Let me go down real quick. We haven't gone so bad down. It's so bad now that everybody wants to cash in. Everybody wants to cash in. It started off with RV Bey. And they selling right to travel. They selling all of this madness, nationality, or whatever the case may be. The brother that I talked about last week, he runs around the country. See, what happened is they created an industry for this. Let me first say this, family. I definitely honor Charge Tariq because I think he was doing what he thought was best. I think his intentions wasn't bad. I really, and if you ever watch him speak, he speaks matter-of-factly. He has no doubt what he's saying. When he say the Jesuits in kosher, he mean that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's not faking that. He mean that. And so I got to honor him for doing what his soul dictated. Because the Prophet Noble Ali said, act as thy soul dictate.
And will always be right.
And it will always be right. So I got to honor for that. So, but now what I always say is there was nothing to balance it out. So he woke up probably millions of people. You understand what I'm saying, Salvazil?
Yeah.
He woke up millions of people. But guess what? It is time for us to camelback off of that.
Right.
And now come in with the pure, unadulterated teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Number one, you're not getting no money for your birth certificate. Forget about it. If it was $1 million in birth certificate, all the people that Taj woke up, kosher. Now, all the people that Taj woke up would be millionaires.
Right. Common sense.
You know what I'm saying? If there was money into
common sense
into the things that Taj been teaching for 20 years plus, there would be a lot of Moorish millionaires. These brothers are struggling for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So we need to stop playing. Absolutely. And the brother Jonah Bey. Absolutely. So a little more. So let me share something with you. Everybody has jumped on the bandwagon and they trying to cash in on your ignorance. They trying to cash in on your ignorance. And you can be an ignorant fool. I'm not calling names because that ain't what I do. But if you're going to be foolish, that's what's going to happen. Now listen, let me share something with you real quick before my brother Cyrus will come in. Now, this I'm going to share with you. I put on this fraud alert. Oh, they're going to be mad because I'm going to hit them in their pocket. Right here is the Moorish, a website called the Moorish Law Society, right? That's what they call it. Now, let me show you what they do, which stands out to me. Number one, nationality proclamation. You can proclaim your nationality. Of course, there's a fee. Status filing. They'll file it for you. Of course, there's a fee. Hey, brother, do you remember the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that you can come to the temple and just take out your membership card, nationality card at any temple? Temple's always open.
Islam. Yeah.
And that was it. The Moorish Law Society, they have the nationality proclamation status filing. Also, they have commercial filings. They're going to charge you for that too. They're going to also charge you for your trust, asset protection, land trust, administration of your trust, and you're going to get an email letter. But you better pay $25 to join first. This is the Moorish Law Society.
Wow.
I want somebody to tell me. I would love to have somebody on the show. I would love to have somebody on the show to tell me how have they benefited from anything they bought from RV Bey besides a good feeling.
Right.
Besides a good feeling. Oh, I proclaim. Oh, I have a right to travel. Oh, Tell me how you benefited besides a good feeling. Because that's all you're getting is a good feeling. You feel good. It's like when you go to church, but they laugh at our Christian brothers and sisters when they in church. Oh, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord. We laugh at them buying something off the internet that you think gonna free you. Come on in, Brother Cyrus.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. That's a whole nother gear. You know, getting into the false teachings and this misrepresentation by those that are not duly qualified to teach, and you know, just not teaching correctly, whether it's qualified or not. That's not the prophet's teachings at all. You know, so I have another thought, and I mean, I don't want to break that one. I wanted to just speak again bring it down to the core. You know, some common sense and logic about the situation with the brother again. I don't know if I can do that, Brother Talker Bey.
Yeah, brother, come on, brother.
I teach, you know what I mean, when Moors come into the temple, a lot of times, you know, you get brothers and sisters, and I was one of them. You know, you come into the temple and you're furious. I was very, very perturbed by what, you know, the Europeans' legacy was toward my people and what happened to us in the country, you know, at all points in time, including right now. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of frustration, you know, and that's natural. I would say that that's natural. Because it shows that you know things are your faculties are firing properly, right? Prophet Noble Jew Ali helps to ease that pain because he clarifies in a lot of the different texts that for one, you're not inferior. Actually, you're a great secret. You know what I mean? This is the reason why they want to steal what your legacy is, and it ain't about all these other courses of emotion and passion that's going to bring you back to your feet. It's going to be thinking clearly and calmly and working together in unison. And the problem is, question 91 says, is the devil made in the image and the likeness of Allah? And it says, no, he is a shadow of your lower self and will pass away. And for those that are able to understand and extrapolate on what that thought means, is that if we're no longer in our lower self, we're focusing on the wrong thing by focusing on the person who appears to be holding us down. But my point is different. My point is, Europeans, I don't think fully understand, because there's a spectrum of them. There's some of them that are on both extremes. There's some of them that want to help us, and they don't understand sometimes how we can be easily offended in that anger that we actually have and that frustration, which is natural to all Asiatics. And so my thought is to the brother, I don't know if he's considered thoroughly whether or not his thought and his actions are offensive based on those things. Where somebody says, "Oh, you got a lot of nerve. How dare you come? This is ours. Y'all have your own. You have all these other things. Why do you have to come into the Moorish Science Temple of America? Is the thought offensive?" And I would say yes and no. For the record, I would say yes. It's a very selfish thought for him to think that you could come up and you're coming online and you're teaching the Asiatics in the Asiatic movement that it clearly says, that this is for us specifically. It's bold of him. It's very bold, and it's very insensitive. But at the same time, I would say no. To be fully balanced, I would say no. On one level, if the brother's thoughts are pure and sincere, all right, it's not so abrasive. I'm looking at him, and it's not like, it's not like he's condescending necessarily. That last piece you played was a little bit condescending, but I would say no, because if it's pure, it's a compliment. The fact that he wants to follow the Prophet Noble Jew Ali in a way is kind of a compliment. They know they know that this is official. They respect the Prophet.
I'm sorry to cut your thought. I just got an alert. Alert, and I got to share this. I got to cut your thought because you said it's sort of a compliment. You know what I mean? Imitation is the best form of flattery.
Islam.
Look at this. This is our good brother, Lord Abba. Notice the shirt I got on. I call my squad Drew Ali Moors. So he put Drew Ali's Moors discussion with sovereignty Moors. What type of discussion are we having today? Y'all see this, family? Listen, family. This is where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says we suffer from the principles that delude to slavery. This is one of those principles. One of those principles is to hijack Drew Ali Moors, my name of my squad, you know what I mean, that going to hit the street. Yeah, we got a street team. Drew Ali Moors be on the streets in Baltimore. Queen Karasi, I hope I see you out there when we hit weekend after next. And then he said a discussion with sovereignty Moors. You see what I'm saying? Isn't this crazy? But This where the vision lies, family. The principles that delude the slavery. But anyway, I just gave him a drop real quick. But you know, imitation is the best form of flattery. So I'm good with it. It's okay. But so check it out, fam. Is that we as a group of people, have to not allow this to happen. We should not allow this to happen. You know what gets me, Brother Cyrus L? When we low and say they are a part of a gang or something, right? A child and you in your hood. And somebody crossed the line, like let's use the gang reference for instance, or the community of brotherhoods. If you come out there with the wrong flag on, you know you ain't gonna walk around with that wrong flag on too long, right?
Right.
Why would somebody like Kudjo, if somebody supported me like that, then I would have to pick up the phone and say, oh, brother, oh, European, whomever, that I don't agree with, whether it was a brother or European, Asiatic or European, I would have to pick up the phone and say, oh, no, we can't do that. And I'm not saying that you will go to the level of the lower self and lose your mind and knock it off his head. I'm not saying that. But if I know that you look up to me, and I know that you admire my teaching, and I know what the prophet stood for, I would have to say, well, brother, it's okay if you want to represent, but brother, let's not be so overbearing to give the impression that you have a say or that you are an authority on the science. Because you've given the impression that you have the authority on the science. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so because nobody did that, and there is many people that can say that Kudjo, Canaan Moore, supported this, that Kudjo came and literally fought for him to demonstrate what he demonstrates, which makes me question the sanity of my good brother Kudjo. You know what I'm saying? And I don't do the calling names, but that makes me question the sanity. And it makes me question those who support and follow the Kudjos and whom have you. Because the first thing I'm going to say, hey, I'm taking Cyrus, I love you, bro. You my guy. Pause. You my brother. But Cyrus, I'm telling you, if you do something unacceptable, I got to tell you, brother.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
If you my brother, you're supposed to tell me.
Hey, Cyrus L, it might even hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let you perpetrate a fraud around me. Brother, you ain't walking down the street and perpetrating a fraud and then I call you my brother.
Right.
Now check this out. There was another rumor, and I call it a rumor. He said he went into the adapt chamber. Now, Cyrus Hill, you and I know that that's foolish.
Yeah, that's totally irresponsible.
You and I know that that's foolish.
Totally irresponsible.
Yeah. Now the European said that he'd been in multiple adapt chambers. Cyrus Hill, you know what it takes to get in one adapt chamber? So I ain't even going to address that foolishness because that is crazy. That is crazy to try to convince somebody, but you don't say no name. You don't say. This what gets me about this whole mess right here. People use so many ambiguous terms and references. Say names.
Yeah.
Say what adapt chamber you've been in.
Be clear.
Why is everything so ambiguous? It's like that old saying that our people used to say. Well, you know what they say. Who is they? Who is they?
That's that fork tongue demonstration. I've been, you know, the Moorish. This is why we're fighting to clean up the temple, to relieve some of the confusion. You know, coming into this myself, I've stumbled across some very interesting demonstrations where people, so-called leaders are dragging new members into the adept chamber before they even know what it is, and and everything is just backwards. So I could imagine how that happened, but that don't make it right. It ain't right. That's not right and exact at all. You know,
absolutely. And brother Saab, I don't mean to cut your wisdom real quick, but look, let me hit one more thing real quick, because you know this show be rolling so good, so good. And family, let me say this: if you on the show, you on my timeline on Facebook or any social media, Queen Karazi, thank you, sister. Look it out with the donation. I appreciate the donation, because I'm telling you, I'm taking this thing on around the world. But if you online and you say something that is diametrically opposed to what the prophet teach, but you think that you're teaching the prophet's lessons, there's a chance that you will be addressed. It doesn't mean that I hate you. It doesn't mean that I dislike you. It means that we have a difference of approach when it comes to the lessons of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that I don't like you, because as a person, I love you. But your understanding, your ideal, we have to have a conversation about.
Yeah.
With that being said, I ran across this.
Brother Bey, let me jump something in real quick. That's connected to the same point. Yeah, you're speaking to a different standard. I like what you just said. Let me take a second, because I wanted to say this a few minutes ago and I don't want it to escape me. Based on a video that you said that that's happening right now at the same time. I wanted to extend my honors to my brother brother Way L, brother Abalord, and also to brother Grimion L, and to my brother Ali Bey. You know, it definitely pains me to see, when we get away from each other a little bit, however it happened, right, wrong, or otherwise. You know what I mean? I can see that, I can observe that, but it makes a good Muslim. It's a good practice for Muslims to try and at least put the thought out there that at some point in time, our brothers will be able to come back and tune with each other. You know what I mean? The brothers that are in discord. So I wanted to take a second and extend honors to those three brothers there. You know what I mean? If you will, brother Tahaka Bey.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that,
brother. Let me tell you something, brother. One thing about me, right? Family. Let me tell you something about Tahaka Bey. And this is the real deal, Holyfield. That's the old one. To me, I don't take this job personal. I don't take this business personal. Uplifting fallen humanity, to me, is business. We are in the business of saving souls.
Islam.
We are in the business of saving souls. And my main objective is to make profits. Make profits. In other words, bring more souls. Talk about no money here. That's what business is all about. What have you accomplished today? So, because we suffer from the principles that delude to slavery, when Satan, devil, dragon, Lucifer, beast, and these are only characteristics, when they show up, I don't mind. I don't mind. That's just one of the hazards of the job.
Yeah.
But when your mind is evolved and open, you see it before it comes. And if you're in tune with the great God Allah, your ancestors, and the teachers of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, it will be delivered to you, revealed to you on a silver platter. So it doesn't even surprise me when things happen. It ain't surprising there's no happiness. Yeah, I'm not worked up. A brother looked at me about this post. He said, "Are you mad?" For what? I am going to work every time I open my eyes. And my job is to save souls or help those to save their soul. I'm in the business of saving souls. And my boss is very proud of me because I get raises daily. My boss is the great God of the universe. So, I mean, I ain't hurting. So the boss that I work for, this of saving soul, is taking care of me. I take some of the hazardous of the job. He already told me these things was a part of the job.
Yeah, we warriors. We warriors more, you know what I mean? And we in this task of uplifting fallen humanity, you know, and we're men and we're warriors, we're gonna clash sometimes. My point was this very simple. I understand both sides of it. I just pray Allah, you know what I mean? I keep the hope that everything is gonna come together at some point in time. I hate to see the brothers going at each other like that.
Brother, it's gonna come together. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's all right. It's gonna come together. You know what I mean? Once we put our ego aside and say, man, listen, what can we do to work together? Everything will work out. But with that being said, this is why this is so dangerous, family. If you real quick, I want to share this with you. Family, please don't fall for the okie doke. Right here. And I'm sorry, I got to throw this brother under the bus. But this brother said that you can file an injunction, do not detain list. Meaning that you can sell some dope, they run up to you, you show them your paper, do not detain. You can go kill somebody. I would assume this is how ambiguous this is. File an injunction to get on the do not detain list. Refer to FRCP, I think it's 5.1. I left that. I didn't even want to clip that right because I didn't want people to go and even try to refer to that. Take proactive steps to exempt yourself. There should be 100 comments on this thread. You understand what we're up against, family?
Mm-hmm.
And when you see an L on somebody's name or a Bey on somebody's name, you automatically associate with Moors. There is no such list, family. I didn't have time, but I wanted to show you a video on YouTube where a brother was saying that he's on the do not detain list. And you know what happened? They detained him. He went to jail. You follow me? See, this is what we have to clear up. This is what we have to clear up. So, Brother Perfecto say, where Rami, Taj, and Kudjo? Brother, not coming up on this show. They're not coming up on this show. I've offered them brothers on the show. I've offered the brother on this show many a times. And guess what? Nobody will come on this show because they think I'm going to yell over top of them. If you just randomly come on the show, that might happen. But if you say, brother, let's just have a real good discussion. And I know Perfecto, my good brother Perfecto, like, oh, man, you cut them off. Come on, dog, man, you cut them off. And I do get worked up, but I'm working on it. And if one of them brothers want to come on the show and have a civilized conversation, I'm telling you, I will be civilized. I will not overtalk them. Need answers. People are dying. And when I show you what happened to a person just a few weeks ago by demonstrating this sovereign degree, or you don't want to call it sovereign, I call it RV Bey Civics. Since you don't want to be called sovereign, I call it RV Bey Civics. You know, RV Bey Civics, period, point blank. And I know somebody that suffered tremendously from this RV Bey Civics, and we got to wake our people up. I see a brother in the chat say there is a do not detain list. Okay. So it's okay to somebody to kill somebody, sell dope. Well, how does that? It's ambiguous, is what I'm saying, brother. It's ambiguous. It's dangerous.
It's not. It has nothing to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America, whatever it is. That's all our point. You know, you want to do that, that's on you. You want to experiment and try that out, you do that. But don't say that the prophet told you to do that, or the temple made you do that. That's not right and exact at all.
Absolutely, my brother. And let me share one more thing with the family real quick. One more thing I want to share with the family is that, man, when we begin to teach Moorish science is basically founded, let's be clear, is basically, amongst many things, but founded on the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Questionnaire, and the Constitution and bylaws. And if people are not grounded in those, then they will misguide themselves and as well as others. Brother Cyrus.
Yeah. My thoughts are, you know, I think I got down what I wanted to get down, and I tried to, you know, steer clear of being too harsh, and I think we accomplished that. I would just advise, you know, for those Europeans that have this thought, or for people that are in a position where they have a European that has this thought, you got to keep in mind the frustration of the people and where we still are and where we came from. You know, it's eased by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but we ain't forget. And with that, I'm gonna read that thought from chapter 41 of the Moorish Holy Quran. Instruction number 12 says, "Suspect not evil in anyone until thou seest it. When thou seest it, forget it not. Whoso have been an enemy cannot be a friend, for man mendeth not his faults." You know, that's one of the principles that comes out of the chapter called Inconstancy, chapter 41. We not gonna stoop to the level of hatred, you know, because hatred was put on us. But we ain't stupid. We ain't slow. You know what I mean? We not going just for anything. The Prophet, you know, he wanted us to be upright. He said he wanted strong men and women. So nah, I'm not with that at all. And it ain't coming from a place of hatred.
And family. At the end of the day, we're gonna have a little bit more dialogue. But at the end of the day, family, let me share this with you. At the end of the day, this misguided European that's his mugshot. That's him. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. I received this from, you know, we got a good investigative team. Shout out to the good Moors out there. Mm-hmm. This is his mugshot. This is his mugshot. This is the end result. So the point that I'm about to make with that is, y'all can go and try out this madness. Y'all can go and try out this madness if you want to, but it is not the Prophet's teaching, nor is it Moorish science. Now, if he in the Bing and he has called himself Latif, people that I know in the spot, he be coming out that name Latifa for perpetrating a fraud.
Islam.
He will come out there being Latifa for perpetrating a fraud. And it is what it is. You know what I mean? So family, we got to stop playing these games. We got to stop playing these games. We need unity. Family, let me say this, brother Cyrus, there real quick. Family. Our salvation is only going to come through unity. What do I mean by that? I'm not being ambiguous about it. Our salvation will come. Our liberation will come when we can come together and we can affect the political process. Meaning this, we unite. You don't have to call yourself Moorish, nor do I have to call myself Black, but we unite around and behind a candidate that we create or select. And we put that candidate in office by our ballot.
Simple.
Once we put that candidate in office, what will happen is The Prophet Noble Ali said the gold and the silver are the citizens, belong to the citizens and the citizens alone. We will have access to the gold and the silver. We will have access to the bag. We will not have access to the bag, sending some paperwork to somebody that has demonized us with the term black in the first place.
Right.
Somebody put a lot of work into keeping us in the condition that we're in. Somebody did a lot of work to make Kanye West speak of being blessed to speak through the wire to now talking crazy next to Trump. Somebody did a lot of work to take Nicki Minaj to be a beautiful sister from Trinidad, a natural sister from Trinidad, to name herself Nicki and then Minaj, and then balloon her whole body up and everybody jaw dropping as if this is the epitome of beauty. Somebody has done a lot of work to do this. And somebody is doing a lot of work. Homosexuals think to run rampant. And now you think you're going to give these same people some paperwork across a desk and you're going to be free? You have either you insane or I'm insane for even having this conversation, because I think this is a no-brainer.
Good point.
If somebody goes through all of this stuff to enslave you, and you are going to slide a piece of paper to them and say, here I am, and you're going to respect it. After you done cut my forefathers' penis off. After, oh, I'm sorry, brother, I gotta tell the truth. After you done cut the testicles of my forefathers off. After you done cut babies out women's belly and dropped them on the ground. After you done conquered from sea to sea. After you done destroyed the indigenous people of America, of Australia, and everywhere you went, you have been brutal. You have colonized the whole continent of Africa, where all the natural resources that supply the world, but you have starving people in Africa with flies on them in certain areas. Same person is going to accept your piece of paper. They're going to accept your piece of paper and recognize you because of some treaty that don't even apply to you, because of some commercial code that they made for themselves for their earthly salvation. Now they're going to accept you with that? No. What is going to change the tide? Yeah, Noble Ali used paperwork filed in Cook County, absolutely. But guess what? Guess what? It's called an affidavit. That's something. Do you know what an affidavit is? An affidavit is saying I'm here.
Prophet Noble Ali filed that. Prophet Noble Ali filed that with unity in mind. That was strength in numbers, not filing individually.
An affidavit is not asking for anything. An affidavit says I'm here. We are here.
But even furthermore, to compare those two, that's faulty logic. How can you compare the two? One that organizes and brings unity and power in numbers, and then filing individually. Who's comparing the two of those together? It doesn't make any logical sense. They're not comparable.
Absolutely. And so the thing is this. The thing is this. When unity will do, my brother, is we will put our money together and we will start to build our communities. When are we going to do that? When can I get these brothers off the RV Bey publication say, okay, brother Tahaka Bey, listen, let's all put our money together and let's get this brother over here to start one block of building a Moorish community. When we gonna get that? Now, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna travel around the country spewing this foolishness and taking your money and going home.
Exactly.
When they gonna say, let's put some money together? Hey, if somebody say, I got the plan, I got a plan to build a Moorish community here in Baltimore, and I'm gonna work on it. And within 10 years, we're gonna have it up and running. Hopefully by midsummer, we will have our first property. Me and the grand governor of our grand body got a plan to have our first property on an abandoned block by midsummer. And we're gonna try to get the whole block within the next 5 years. We got a plan for that. But if you got a plan and you tell me to Bey, we need you to donate because we got a plan over here, then I'm gonna help you with your plan. If you need me to come out there to show you how to purchase inexpensive property, I'm coming out there. I don't care if you got a right to travel or a right to do whatever. But if you trying to build something, I'm ready to build. I'm ready for the next generation to leave out their house and go to the corner store and get their groceries without all the additives, without all the food colorings, without all the poison. Water got everything in it except water. How about that? I'm ready to walk out my house and in the morning, somebody look at me and say, it's Salaam, brother. Not somebody looking at me saying, oh, he about to leave out in a minute. I'm going up in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When are we ready to build something? See, nations are born out of first identification and then communities, collectively working. Nations are not born out of sending somebody some paperwork. Not born fighting on the side of the road with a right to travel. Nations are not born talking to somebody about some commercial codes. We are the only, and I'm sorry, Brother Cyrus Hill, our brothers that are misguided have to be silly to believe that the commercial code is going to build some nation.
Furthermore,
dictionary is going to build a nation. Come on, Brother Cyrus.
Furthermore, break it all the way down to the core. If the prophet didn't say that, and the prophet is the leader, you know, the prophet is the one we're trying to rally around. We're trying to rally around a flag, and he's going this way. He said we got to be involved. We got to be better citizens. You said we're not citizens at all. What is that doing? That's called a split. You splitting us in two. You splitting the ranks. You know, if you do it, even if you do that on your own prerogative, you're going away from the prophet. Now we're going in two different directions. That's not moving in power.
Exactly. And the thing is, my brother Cyrus Hill, my problem with our people is this. I wish that I had them on my side because they're so passionate.
Yeah.
Brother, they so passionate about it. Imagine it was turned into building something. Imagine if that passion was turned into walking the block around their neighborhood and getting them to rally behind someone to get into office.
Prophet said we are honorary stiff-necked group of people that never did anything except by the point of a sword. So that's what we up against.
Oh, Brother Cyrus, I'm sorry for keep cutting. I love you, my brother. But let me say this, man. I want to appreciate the family today, man. The family is really supporting. They keep saying put up the GoFundMe link. Man, it gives me the chills, man, that y'all are helping out. And this is going to help me to get around the country and continue to do this work. I spend a lot of time on these videos. I spend a lot of time in preparation. My brother Cyrus Hill, let me tell y'all something about my humble brother Cyrus Hill. Cyrus Hill is a big deal. He's a big deal. He's real humble, so don't listen to him. No, I'm not. He's a big deal. He's a very busy man. He's a very busy man as it relates to our pop culture. And when we get to our show that me and him going to do together, you'll get more information on what I'm talking about. But he's a big deal. Very important as it comes to our culture. He's at the cutting edge of producing things for our culture. You will get the supreme love will be handed down to you. You will understand what I'm talking about later. However, also Assistant Grand Sheik of a temple. Do y'all know what that takes? That's work. That's work. And so
Honest.
me and him are kind of like kindred spirits.
Islam.
I have the same caseload or workload that he has. And we still find time to do that. So we appreciate anything that can help us out to get this message across. Even if you just share in a thumbs up. Even if you share in a thumbs up, because this is work and we have a passion for this. We desire our unity and our love.
We got fire in the bones, as the Moors say. Got that fire in the bones, that holy zeal, Islam. Salute to you, brother Tahaka Bey. Thank you for that, Moor, and likewise. You know, I see you. I appreciate your works, brother, big brother.
And I definitely appreciate you. So somebody said, Twan Bey said, to come against RV Bey publication, Taj, Kudjo, and Rami is against the Moorish Nationals and Divine Movement. Violation. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. Let me tell you why it's not. First of all, do you know what the Moorish National Divine Movement is? That's number one. Just because somebody practices Moorish science and say they are part of the Moorish National Divine Movement doesn't make them a part of the Moorish National Divine Movement. Number two, I'm going to give you a hint what the Moorish National Divine Movement is. The Moorish National and Divine Movement is consistent with your membership in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Period. I know people don't want to hear that, but that's what the prophet created.
Mm-hmm.
I know they don't want to hear that. I know you want to do your own thing. The Moorish National Divine Movement it only hinges upon your membership within the movement with the prophet created, which was the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I stand on that. I stand on that. And I would take anybody to task on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the Moorish National and Divine Movement was so absent of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I think the prophet would have made it clear that that was the case. But whenever you hear of the Moorish National and Divine Movement, not too far from that, you hear the Moorish Science Temple of America. You can be a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Moorish National Divine Movement, the Moorish National Divine Movement figuratively, because you support Moors and you want things to go. But in the true sense, you have to follow the laws of the Prophet Noble Ali. He's the prophet. You can't follow your own rules. You can't make your own rules and then say I'm a part of the Moorish National Divine Movement, a phrase coined by the prophet, a term coined by the Prophet Noble Ali. Don't work like that. You got to subscribe to the rules and subscribe as taught by the Prophet Noble Ali. And then you are part and parcel. It is what it is.
That's right.
And Nicole on Bey, she said there's no temple where she lived. Well, sister, let me tell you something, Nicole. Before we're going to wrap this up, and I want to share something with you real quick. Sister, I am doing my best to slow down for a minute and to create a study group online that I will probably most likely do twice a week. I'm going to dedicate myself to put people in a position to open study groups, Moorish missions in the areas where there is none. The only reason that Taj RV Bey publication it gets a foothold is because there is no qualified Moorish Science Temple of America areas. Period. That's it. If there was an alternative there where people were being active and productive, surely you wouldn't choose filling out some paperwork and testing out your right to travel card. Surely, you know. So yeah, Temple 101 in Khalifa, surely, man, you know, you can't nationalize a European, man. It doesn't work like that. But let me share this with the family real quick. So when you look at what we talked about tonight, we have the European teaching Moorish science, as he called it, quote unquote, Moorish civics, as he called it, quote unquote. Well, family, we're going to talk about some real Moorish civics. And this is going to be held May 6, 2017 at McGirt Auditorium, 801 Crawford Road, Rock Hill, South Carolina. And these civics that we're talking about is how to unite under a common goal. Put our vote behind our man or our female, not randomly. This is the road to liberation. Listen, the Freddie Gray, shout out to Queen Karasi. When the Freddie Gray situation happened in Baltimore, we went crazy. We turned up like there was no other. You know what I mean? But imagine if a brother like Cyrus Hill was in the city council when Freddie Gray was murdered. Do you really think that Cyrus Hill would let politics rule over his drive to address this vigorously?
Right.
I refuse to believe that.
Right.
I believe when that would have happened, the city would have shut down politically. Meaning that a brother like Cyrus Hill, now that's just one brother, but let me tell you how civics really work. A brother like Cyrus Hill would have said, emergency meeting, City Hall, emergency meeting. This brother was just murdered. Okay, every council on every district, we're on our way to the main police department on Baltimore Street, and we need answers tonight before it gets out and people go crazy. The people need to know that we got their back. Let's go.
Islam.
And every person that was involved, whether they was transporting or whether we would have separated them. We would have requested that we separated them. Remember, the city hall pays the police department. They fund the police department. The budget can be stopped overnight. Pause the finances.
So simple.
Pause the finances. Now, let's have some answers. Separate those who were involved and let's get an independent inquiry tonight.
Exactly.
Politics.
Organized. We got to get organized. It ain't rocket science.
That's how you do politics. You understand what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with affairs. It has nothing to do with a turban. It has everything to do with a common problem. A face that we all face. You know what I'm saying? So we got to make sure. We have to make sure that we are willing to unite and take the political process by storm, even down to air conditioning in the school. Why is it? Why is it that we wait till it's 105 degrees and then we start crying about air conditioner? If a brother Cyrus Hill was on the city council, don't you think he would do an analysis of how many schools have air conditioning and how many don't in the wintertime?
That's right.
It only makes sense. Why we wait till the children burning up and letting out of school early? It only makes sense. All the abandoned houses in Baltimore, you know, they gave away $1 million in some trash cans in Baltimore because they didn't know what to do with money that was just laying around. They gave Cyrus Hill, they gave everybody trash cans.
Wow. $1 million worth of trash cans? Crazy.
They gave away trash cans. So Money for More say, should we bow or stand up? Brother, the Prophet Obadiah Ali said, take your place in the affairs of men. The affairs of men are happening daily. And we standing on the outside throwing paper planes at them. We filling out and throwing paper planes. That's all we doing. and thinking we're gonna get some freedom. Let me tell you something, how the European Jew got some freedom. He put his sons into school. He was working, he and she was working with us during our struggle at one time, back in the day. They did some of the jobs that we did back in the day. But what they did, they had a plan. They got some help from their European brethren. Sure, we don't have that luxury. But what they did was they began to buy communities. It doesn't matter how, they used to call them Jewish ghettos back in the day. They don't live in them Jewish ghettos no more. They went from that to sending their schools, they sending their children to schools, and today their children are the judges. So when they go to court for, and I know Sister Karasi can bear witness that in Upper Park Heights here in Baltimore, where they call Jewtown, a brother was walking through the neighborhood, they beat this brother down. Everybody cried foul. And they had their own, hey, Brother Cyrus, there, listen to this. They had their own police.
Yeah.
That they call security, but they carried it like the police.
They got that in New York right now today. For those that are, you know.
And when they beat this brother down for walking through the neighborhood and he would not respond. When they asked him what he doing in the neighborhood, they beat him down. And when he went to court, you know who he was facing?
Who's that?
Brother. And you know what his brother did?
What's that?
Because his brother was the judge. And we still flying paper planes. Raise your children to be a judge. Don't raise your children to be running around with some right to travel. Raise them to be the judge. That's
right. Brother Tahaka. I wanted to be able to take a second to say thank you for having me on the call. Unfortunately, I have to jump off. There was a meeting for the Moorish God that was supposed to start at 9. They started at 10 for me so I could be on.
Brother, you go because business duty call. I'm jumping off in a minute. I want to see if any questions come up this feed. Brother, go ahead and say something real quick on your way out the door.
Yes, sir. I'd like to extend honors to the leadership of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Brother Rahmael El, Brother C. Kirkman Bey. I give honors to my leader, Brother R. Jones Bey, my Grand Sheikh, Brother W. Clendenin Bey, and as I said before, I give honors to you, Brother Tahaka Bey, and to the Moorish World platform and audience. Keep up the good work, big brother Sheikh, and we talk soon. I look forward to being on again soon.
Yes, sir. Peace and love, family.
Peace and love.
So money for more. You said judges use paper and have a right to travel. This is what I'm saying. Why don't you control the narrative instead of sending it to them? And if you want to create something like a right to travel card, you will be empowered to do that. You will be empowered to do that. So our brother Sharif say, become the power. Become the power. So money for more, we need brothers like you to help us, to help you to become the power. You follow me? It's time for us to become the power. Stop accepting Europeans as your equal. They're not going to have your best interest at heart as it relates to Moorish science. They're not Moors. A Chinese person will not have your best interest at heart as it relates to Moorish science. They're not Moors. As it relates to Moorish science, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I don't care how much they can masquerade and give the impression that they are for you. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So family, I want to say this. In closing, family, I implore you to please wake up. Please understand that this here, let's play it for a second. Let's listen to that.
Affidavits.
Listen to
numerous cases where the Supreme Court has rebuke the inferior courts of the officers of those courts, admonishing them to preserve the rights of the people just as the federal courts. Note, AA 222141, A1 citizens with a permanent character, comes from the U.S. Code, United States Code, Title 141, Chapter 2, Section 141. So whatever they call a tax exempt, which is not, because it's 222141, that's the U.S. Code, letting them know that the United States is not jurisdiction in Morocco. Now, if you don't know, we in Morocco, brothers and sisters, and you can delete that all you want, but I'm still gonna come back and then I'll just get into greater detail. Okay,
come on, man. Come on. This is what it come to. This is what it come to. This is what it come to. This is what it comes to. We better than that, people. Come on, man. We the founders of civilization. We better than that, people. We better than that, people. We smarter than that. Canaan Moors endorsed that European. We smarter than that. They endorse them. We smarter than that, people. We smarter than that. All we got to do is come together and put our differences aside, and we can change this overnight. If you're in Baltimore, we can change it overnight, because I'm telling you, I'm going to give a call before the next election season. I'm going to give a call, and we're going to pat this concrete, family. Whether you subscribe to Moorish Science or not, we're going to put one of us in those seats. Now, imagine this. We was talking about Cyrus El Bey in one seat. Imagine if we had 12 districts full up with people with our best interests at heart. What if we had 12 people with our best interests at heart? And Teaching Bey, there is no problem with him recognizing a prophet. He is masquerading as a Moorish American. Hey, let it go. They done already stole our identity. If I wear fez out right now, they think it's Turkish. Let it go. They think I'm a Mason if I wear fez. If I go out in public with a fez, they're gonna ask me, am I a Mason? Let it go. The Bible said, come out of her, my people. Come up out of it. Let it go. Why are we so hell-bent on defending this European? Let them be. Let them be. It's okay. That don't mean that you hate them. Just let them be. We got too much work to do amongst each other. Talk about it, you can't help who you love. If a woman walk up to me with the slightest phenotype of a European, she ain't getting no rap. Because I'm racist? No. Because I know what a Moorish American family looks like. And I want to be the typical Moorish American family. I want to be the typical Moorish American family. Period. It is what it is. Maybe you don't want to be the typical Moorish American family, but I do. And I believe that's what the prophet intended for us, to be a typical Moorish American family. You follow me? That's what I believe that the prophet intended for us to be. And I hope my brother don't mind, but I want to share something with the family real quick. My good brother, man, I want to be a typical Moorish American family. Typical, I said. And I can't say it enough. Now, it is what it is. I want to be a typical Moorish American family. I don't know what you want to be, but I'm telling you what I want to be. And I'm telling you what I'm going to be. I'm telling you what I am. It is what it is. It is what it is, family. I'm trying to right now show you a typical Moorish American family. This is what the prophet envisioned in my mind. This is what the prophet envisioned. Take a look at it. Prophet envisioned. Right there. I don't know what y'all see. I don't know what y'all see when y'all take off them turbans. But I see the phenotype of those who are descended from the inhabitants of Africa. I see a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa. That's what I want to see. I don't know what you want to see. Maybe you got some work to do. But what I want to see is right here. I want my neighbor to look like that. I want my brother to look like that, my sister to look like that. I don't know what y'all want, but that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm working for. With that, family, I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to get up out of here, but I want to tell y'all, I hope that y'all be here tomorrow. I will be on at 8 o'clock tomorrow. I can't leak the final show about, I can't leak what the final show is about, but it's on the same lines of this. It's on the same lines. My brother Ishmael Bey will be in the building. The attorney, Akeisha Shabazz, will be in the building to give someone some advice for going through, for having to go through something so traumatic after demonstrating that RV Bey Civics. It will be in the building. It will be in the building. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, I ain't playing with nobody. I'm blocking everybody that is disrespectful because our people are dying following this nonsense. So if you come on the channel being disrespectful, I'm blocking you. Go get a new profile and come again. I'm blocking you because this is sensitive. Man, we have sister that died in Baltimore from this madness. We have people going to jail. I have people calling me losing their houses. So, hey, you know what I mean? It is what it is, family. So, what we going to do, I hope I see y'all tomorrow, and we're going to turn up a little bit. We're going to turn up a little bit on those who are hiding in the shadows and teaching this madness. So I hope y'all here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'll probably go on at 8:15. I will advertise, but I will be at 8:15 live. I don't want to advertise much because somebody's going to try to stop this. Always thumbs up. I thank you for your support. Again, family, we are going to be in South Carolina. I got some more dates that I'll be releasing soon. And it was through your support that I will be able to travel and get to these events. Even if you wouldn't have gave me the finance, then I would have found some type of way to beg it out you. Because I can't afford it. Now I'm playing. And more than that beggars. No, I appreciate you, family. Because you know and I know that we need to get this around the country. I told y'all what I was going to do. When I started this channel, I told y'all I was going to take this around the country. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Dates coming. We got some more dynamic brothers coming on here. You know, we're not with the disunified platform, but we will address everything. We will address everything that divides us as a people. Period, point blank. I want to get back into the Quran lessons real soon, but I got a few shows that we have to address. One of the shows that we have to address is another European group that pride themselves on the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We're going to address that too. What I'm trying to do is get everybody to understand that all of this stuff that's been going on for the last 15, 20 years, it's a new day. You're not going to paperwork your way out of freedom unless you are the one that is in the power. And though power is but a delusion, if you are guided by a law, you will be guided by the force. And the force is a law. So with that, family, I love y'all. Peace and love. This was a beautiful show. Tomorrow is going to be really, really, it's going to be kind of deep. It's going to be kind of deep. I don't know what freestyle is. I don't make this stuff up. I freestyle this, and tomorrow's show is going to be deep, and we're dealing with the same type of issue. The wolves in sheep clothing. I love y'all, family. I see y'all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Please don't miss the show tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. We're talking about a very sensitive issue. Peace and love.